Welcome back from lunch, everyone. We're going to do a little bit of something different here. We're going to go into some demonstration sessions, and then I'm going to give you some CAD management and implementation tips and tricks for BricsCAD to wrap up the session. We're going to do about 1 hour total. And first of all, to start doing some demonstration work, Shiv Group is going to come up here, and he's going to be doing some stuff about 24/7. Then we're also going to be hearing from Hans de Backer and Heidi Hewitt. You see them all standing over there. They'll be showing you some things on V20, and then I'll wrap up with my session. So without further ado, Shiv, come on up and show us what you've got.
Thanks. Good one. Yeah, thanks. Oh, they turned it on already. Okay, yeah. I'm going to start with a demo of the Bricsys 24/7 panel. You guys have already seen it yesterday in action during the BIM, but now you'll see it in a little bit more detail. I launch BricsCAD. The 24/7 panel would be on the right-hand side. It's this cloud icon that you see. If you don't see it, you can just right-click it, go to Panels, look for the Bricsys 24/7 panel, and check it on. You can see it then. We log in. The first thing you see is a list of projects. These are the projects that you have access to. You've been added as a user. Doesn't matter what kind of access, view, read only, write, but these are all the projects that you're part of. We'll go into a test project. You can see that the folder has got all these there's a list of folders, and there's a list of files. So the status of, now the panel, we consider the panel to be a view of what's there on the cloud. So all that you see is actually what's there on the server. It maintains the same configuration for you, which is the order of the folders and the hierarchy of folders and files. You can see these files, the status is available for download. What you can do is, and also you see a picture of the person who last uploaded a particular file. So you can double click it, and it's gonna start downloading, and it'll open the file. You can also download multiple files, which we're gonna do that. So while the files are being queued for download, you can continue to work in your model, and you can continue to do that. It's all async, so it doesn't halt what you're already doing. If you're interested in seeing where these files get downloaded, you can go to Options, Cloud Download Path. So this is where, this is the default path for your files to be downloaded. It's going to create a folder hierarchy inside of this folder, which matches with the hierarchy you see on the cloud. You can also change the server. We need to sometimes do that if you have a server which is faster for your geography. Now, these statuses of these files which I've downloaded just now, this demo file, for instance, it says up to date. So it's the latest revision. You can hover on it, and you can see these tooltips. It tells you what's the description associated with the latest revision that was uploaded. You can also open other file types. So we go to a different file extension, we open one of these. It's going to download it and it's going to open it in the viewer, which is registered on your local machine. Of course, if like for some of these files, we all see them many times. For these files where there's no application registered, you get the usual open with dialog box. So let's take one of these drawings and see what usually users would do with them. So I've downloaded, let's open room inner drawing. As someone who wants to work on this, possibly I would like to make some changes. I think these guys are too close to each other, so maybe I don't want to pack so many people in my office. Probably move this guy around. I don't need an extra pedestal. And yeah, I'll move this a bit here. Simple changes. Yeah, I like the design. I've still not decided what to do with that. So I save it. When I save it, you see the status change to locally modified. So this allows you to work on your files on your local machine without affecting what the other guys are doing. They won't see that you've started working on these files. That's intentional. Once you're sure that, okay, I think I like the changes that I've made, I upload. So I upload it to saying reduced one desk and moved the other. And I'm going to upload that. So you can see that the drawing is uploading and now it shows the status as up to date. The description, it shows the latest description that I entered. Now what I'm going to do is, also if, for example, maybe I should just switch it right now. R1. This is my other machine. By the way, this is the Mac. So this is BricsCAD on the Mac. It works beautifully. So I go into this project, this folder, and as you can see here, for instance, just now you saw that I had modified room drawing inner. So it tells me that a newer version is available, and I can right click and I can either continue to work on the same drawing, or I can actually right click and I can say download the drawing, and I can download and get the latest version, which is the up-to-date version. And you see that the changes that I made in the other machine are reflected in this machine. So let's switch back from the Mac to the Windows machine. Which one is it? Demo 1. Okay. All right. Now, if you saw that it's possible to work on your local machine. Now, let's say I do a little bit of more work on this machine. I mean, when I say machines, it's obviously I'm one user and the other machine is another user. So I make a few more changes, get this pedestal out of the way, save it, shows me as locally modified. I'm going to go back to my Mac. And I'm going to make a quick modification to this drawing from the Mac. Maybe you guys can see it as well. Go back here. I it is a chair, save it, upload, and erased chair, upload it. So it uploads the file here. Come back to demo 1. And here now when I refresh, it shows me the status is conflicted. So this is important to note because if you're gonna make local modifications to your drawing, you should be aware that it's possible that somebody else could modify the drawing could go out of date, and there's a conflict because now if you upload your changes, you're going to lose the other guy's changes. So we don't force you to work in a certain way here. There's many times people work perfectly fine without any conflicts, but if you want to really avoid this situation, right now I was not intending to seriously do not intending to upload these changes, so I'm just going to download it and I'm going to say, okay, you can replace it. I'm going to lose my changes. It's fine with me. But if you would like other people to know that you're working on a drawing and you intend to upload it, we recommend you to lock it so the other users can see that you've locked the file. So when they attempt to work on it, they already know that. So then you can have a communication saying, hey, can you unlock it, or what are you up to? You can see that this was a model uploaded by Peter. So if I lock it, it changes to my picture, profile picture. So it says who's the person who locked the file. So it's pretty easy to locate who's locked it and then communicate with them to unlock it so that their work carries on. So we recommend that you can use the lock. You should use the lock and unlock functionality if you've got a very big organization and you want to make sure that you don't lose anyone's changes and there's no conflicts. Finally, last but one, I think, yeah, there's always XREFs. Yes. So if we go to this XREF test, this main file has a file, the XREF file is XREFed into the main file, obviously, yes, obvious. So if I download this file, you can see that it downloads the linked files and it's going to download your XREF file as well. So when you open the main file, this is the XREF. You don't get the annoying pop-up which says missing XREFs and so on. So it downloads the dependencies. And the final point is, if you want to go and explore the full functionality of Bricsys 24/7, you can always go to 24/7, and you can continue to do other stuff that you would like to do, which is not there in the panel. That concludes my demo of the panel. Thank you.
As a longtime CAD user myself, what I really like about the new 24/7 implementation is that it puts everything that you need right there in the panel. You don't have to bounce back and forth between two different applications. Very natural language analogy. Everybody understands what conflicted means. Everybody understands what checked out means. So there's no hieroglyphics or second vocabulary that you have to navigate to understand where your files are. And the fact that it's all consolidated and very easy to see with graphical update reports is it's a very nice feature. I think if you dig into it, you're going to enjoy what you see and enjoy using it. So now, what I'd like to do is invite up Heidi Hewitt and Hans de Backer. Now, Heidi Hewitt is the BricsCAD product owner, and Hans is he is the manager of all the core development. So he basically knows more about BricsCAD than I will ever know. And Heidi is going to be your primary point of customer interface. So if anybody has anything that you would like to talk to Heidi about, please feel free to talk to all of us. And you guys will be taking some questions at the end of your session, as I understand it.
Exactly.
Okay, very good. So I'll get out of the way and I'll let Heidi and Hans do their thing over there. Please welcome Heidi Hewitt and Hans de Backer.
Thank you. Well, please please allow me to start with a quick check to see who's dozing off after lunch and who's still wide awake. Yesterday, during my demo, and today, I am using a brand new feature. It's on screen. It's on display. Who's spotting it? Raise your hand. Tell me what you see. Jack?
I just only see, I don't see the toolbars and the ribbons.
Jack doesn't see the toolbars and the ribbons. Okay, that's correct. But there is something different I'm looking for, and I'd like to tell a few more things about it. Apparently, it blends in so well, and you expect it to be there. But have you noticed here at the bottom, this thing? It's where you enter a command, the command line. This is a brand new command line. And I've been using it during my demo. You can see it over there. It doesn't have the caption bar that it used to have. And it can be anchored to the bottom. And what's more, like here, it has clickable options. And it has like the possibility to expand the history. But guess what? It's not finished. so that's why I didn't introduce it yesterday. But we are very close to releasing it. We hope to get it ready for the initial release, but we have to iron out a few wrinkles. But you see, it's already in a state that I'm confident while demoing that it will not cause me any troubles. I've been demoing it yesterday, but I'm quite surprised that nobody even noticed that it's there. So that's good. But it takes, you see, here all this area you used to, well, it used to be taken by the command line, so you get more workspace, which is quite interesting. Okay, now what I plan to do is show you a few smaller things that we've been working on and that didn't make it into the quite condensed demo yesterday. So there's a few more things that I want to show. And then if somebody wants me to provide more detail about one of the things I showed yesterday, it will be my pleasure to do so. So let's go ahead and see. Now, in a model that has lots of layers, it can be interesting to use layer filters. So far, we had this properties filter. And like a properties filter, you would say a thing like color. And here I want the color 126. I saw some layers are using it. And here you get a filter that is based on properties. I call it green. Now, that one was existing, but sometimes you want another type of filtering. And that's a new one. It's the group filter. So what is a group? Well, it's just you make any selection of layers that you think belong together, and from your right-click menu, create group from selection. So this is my group. I was too fast. My group. So I can now switch here between the full list of layers or my group or green. But it's not only here. If I close and I look in my layer panel, you see I have these same filters now that are available, either all or my group or green. So this makes life again a bit more convenient while working with BricsCAD. group layer filters. Then a thing I didn't have the time for to show yesterday is that this nice sweeping tool that has been extended to be made interactive. These guys made things that I was not aware that they were possible, but for instance, if I activate boundary detection, then this boundary gets detected, and I can use this new modeling tool just the same on that boundary. And so this is really powerful. You can not only do it on faces in your drawing, but on any boundary that you like. And what's more, these are 3 lines. 1 line, 2 line, 3 line. And in fact, I can also use sweep on those 3 lines, which I was not aware that it's possible. So I just use my new command line, and I will use the clickable options. So I use the interactive option, and I select entities, and I just select this bunch of entities, and they enclose a boundary. So they are forming a closed loop. And now I can use that closed loop also to do this sweeping. And what you get in such case is that's a surface, because, well, these 3 lines do not really, they are not describing a surface. If I would have gone there by using the boundary detection, yes, then I would have a closed boundary. But this is a way that you can use lines or whatever 2D geometry to create surfaces and sweep them along any path. Here I'm using straight paths, but this works on any curve. So sweep has become better, and we have still some more improvements for that in the pipeline for V20. We will make it easier to control the orientation and location. Like now, the ease of use you have to drag entities and stop where you want. Well, we want to offer you the same ease of use to rotate and move that section, and in fact the whole swept solid. That's what's coming for sweep. Other stuff we've been working on, dynamic blocks, and for dynamic blocks we are adding more support gradually for all existing features there are for dynamic blocks. So one of the things we've added recently is, like here, there's what is called block table grip. Yeah, that's a block table grip, and it allows me to select a number. And this grip, in fact, works in concert. So you can either use that grip, or you see I just moved it to 8. So these two are talking to each other. This is a block table grip, so that's now supported. I think that there should be another one here. Yeah, there's one here. So it can be used for many purposes. And as I already said, we regularly revisit the basics. So let's go back to the basics again. They are important. And I think that this nearest distance tool is more powerful than you would think. These are 2 lines. When I select them, it says they are 0 millimeters apart. Now, if you would just move that a tiny distance, then you cannot see that it is apart, so you will never notice, or you will notice too late typically. But if you select them and you see these measurements coming up, then you know, oh, these things are not in the same location. So it's helpful in that way. But it's not only helpful for horizontal distances like here. If I select two of these rectangles, it says, okay, 0 millimeters. That's as I expect. If I select these two, it says, oh, 0.5 Z difference. If I select these two, 1000 difference in Z direction. So if I rotate, this is typically what goes unnoticed in plans, but what you can get an early warning for with nearest distance. For that alone, it's already worth its money. Now, another aspect of this nearest distance, I showed you that you can use it. For instance, if you select this and this, then you can change one of the actual directions, and you can really model. You are applying a temporary constraint, in fact, or you aren't explicitly doing that, but BricsCAD is doing that for you, just by selecting two entities. Now, whoops, this is my mouse tricked me. Now, sometimes you want to know just the distance between, let's say, this vector, vertex, Hans, it's a vertex, so, and this vertex. And you immediately see the distances along the axis. Now, they are shown in disabled color. That's a pity. The reason is, because I will show how it would look for other entities. If I select this entity and this one, you see the colored dimensions. That means they are enabled and you can modify them. For vertices, if it's really only two vertices, well, BricsCAD does not yet have the functionality to modify, well, to move a vertex. So that's why they are still disabled. So we only give you information in this case, but that's coming. So I'm just trying to explain why you see only information in this case. If one of both is a vertex and the other one can be moved, then again it is enabled. Then things that are permanently available, like if I press the control key, then I immediately can see the length and the slope. This has a zero slope. It's horizontally, it's a horizontal segment. But what you maybe did not yet discover, it was added in the course of V19, is that if I now select this item, did you ever try that with the polyline? So you can do whatever you want with that segment in a very nicely controlled way. Maybe that's a discoverage for some. And what you also can do now with the manipulator, let's select this one. This used to be the handle to drag the manipulator. But any place that you do now a long click on the manipulator, you can use to drag the manipulator to a new location. Yeah, and to see it being aligned with a new location. So you don't need this handle anymore for that purpose. So now we can use it to offer you free movement, so unrestricted movement, because all the other movements so far, it was restricted. Here you can do 3D movement, you can snap to another Z level. Yeah, to any place. So now this is really you can do all movement operations using manipulator, both restricted along an axis or rotation or restricted to a plane. So these are the planes actually. So here I restrict movement to a vertical plane, so I've moved it vertically. I encourage you to use the manipulator more and more, because you don't need to start a command to start using it. You can use it right away. Okay, another feature that we worked on in the end of the V19 cycle is zooming performance. Like, this is quite a large drawing again with lots of geometry. And this is how it used to perform. So if now I've been zooming, and this is how it reacts. So I touch my mouse wheel now, now I'm waiting. So that was the performance it used to have. We've been working on that. So now if I zoom in, you see I get good response. Important to make your working day shorter and provide you more free time. Sometimes there's small things, often there are small things. Like in the structure panel, you can select like one circle, and you can now right click and say hide it, and I select the line and I hide it. And sometimes you have been hiding geometry, but you want to unhide just a few things, not everything again. So here we show a different color for the hidden and for the visible stuff. The visible stuff is bright white, the hidden stuff is faded. So if I only want to make this one visible again, I right click and say show. So I get my one entity back and not all the others that I've been hiding and that I want to keep being hidden. While we are discussing small features, another small feature is when you draw an arc, then the rotation direction may be as you want it, but sometimes you want it to go the other way. And then all you have to do is press the control key, and it goes the other way. Now I let go of the control key and it goes back. So, small thing, but saves time. And what we improved also for the manipulator is the behavior combined with snaps. So I start moving, and it's interesting to know, as long as I am over the ruler, there will no more be snap markers that appear. There used to be snap markers that were appearing through it, and we've avoided that, because if in this ruler zone you see a snap marker appear, then you think it will work, but no, it's the ruler that will take priority. So to avoid the confusion, you see when I'm now over this arc, there's no more marker for the midpoint of the arc. If I go away from the ruler, yeah, then I can select snap points, but they should not be underneath the ruler. So we took away that confusion. Then there's an important performance improvement that we've realized for printing to physical printers. In case that you have like a very large file of which you print only a few small viewports details. So you cut out, let's say, 1 million entities and you only keep a very few. Then our performance for printing was very slow. That's because for every viewport there was a new regeneration of the entire drawing. That's been fixed, and instead of minutes, now printing such file becomes seconds. That has been solved for physical printers in V20. What's coming next is that we solve it for the PDF printing, because that's based on expert. And we've been talking here during the meeting with the ODA team, and we'll set up something together to get the performance there also fixed in the near future. That's coming, that's not yet in there. And another thing that we are working on, and that Neil Patterson of ODA was wondering, why isn't there more use of our repository technology? Well, we are working on that, but it's not ready for V20, it will be V21. But the feature where we will definitely use it is it will allow to undo per entity. So you have a line and you have stretched that line, and then you moved that line, and then you changed the color of that line. All these steps will be stored as separately in the history. So you will get a drop-down box where you can go back in time, and for an entity you will see the previous status of that entity. And if you find yeah, that's the one I want to go back to, then you can go back to it. And that's important because now, say, during the morning, you made a modification, and in the afternoon you say, oh, I want to go back there, that was wrong. Then all the work that is in between gets undone until you get there. That's not what you want. You want to only undo something for that entity. I think that will be a very interesting application of the repository technology. So that's what we are working on for the coming time. Now, that's about it for new features, but maybe Heidi, you want?
Yeah, I just wanted to say a few things. I don't know if we have time to answer questions now, but after the session, we'll be around, so we're happy to answer questions then, because Robert will be coming up in just a minute for his part of the session. But I did want to mention that we are always looking for feedback, and for some of the functionality that you've seen, but we've told you is not available, won't be available in V20, we're especially interested in feedback for those, and we invite any of you to join our beta program. And I have my cards with me. You can catch me after the session or anytime, and I'm happy to give you a card. You can send me an email, and we'll get you signed up for the beta program. We're especially interested in having all of you that are interested try out some of that parametric functionality that I was showing yesterday. So please reach out to us, and we're happy to add you. So I think that's it for us, and
Yeah,
I'll hand it over to Robert.
Unless there's somebody who has a question. Yeah, Jack?
I do. You showed us the filter function for the layers. Is it possible, is the filter that is stored or the selection?
Is the filter...
Is the filter stored, so if I change the color of one of those layers, it won't be there in the green filter?
So the question is, if I created a filter that is filtering on the property color, and it selects layers that have that specific green color. Now the question is, if I modify the color of a layer, then will that layer still be included in that filter or not? The reply is not. So because the property of that layer is no longer that it has color green, it has color red now.
So you store the filter and not...
Yeah, what is stored is the description of the filter, it's the rule, and that filter is applied to the existing filters. That's how it works. By the way, for the new group filters, there, as long as you don't change the, I think it's the, that's a good question. You have me there. I will have to look it up. I was going to say it depends on the name, but it depends on the ID in that case. it depends on the ID, yeah, the handle.
So maybe we
Okay.
can take just one more question, and then we're happy to answer more after.
Okay.
So I think there was one more question back there.
Same subject, can you use wildcards when filtering the layers? For instance, in the name, every filter starting with an A or having ABC in the midst of the name.
What I understood is, can we use wildcards to
Define the
filter?
filter of
Yeah.
the layers.
I think so, but let's try it. So we create a new properties filter. Yeah. And here I say it has to have an A, and for the rest I don't care. So the wildcard like asterisk, yeah. And now in the resulting list, you see that there's a remarkable number of layers that start with A, but these are all starting with A. So wildcards are accepted, yes.
All right.
Okay.
All right, thank you so much. And I think we'll hand it back to Robert.
Very good. Could you
Thank
press
you.
the PPT?
Yes.
Nice work, guys. Great, thanks. Okay, so one of my jobs as the director of implementation is to make sure that people are successful with our software. And of course, we understand that we can have the coolest software in the world, but if you can't install it and make it run, really what's the point? So what the idea of this session is what are some of the best practices and things that we have found for those companies that want to move from probably that other big software program to BricsCAD. So I'm just going to go through a few of those for you, and may run just a few minutes over, but Jürgen and Matthias have assured me that's okay. So, all right, let's go ahead and jump in. What I want to do is I want to make software migration easier. That's kind of my entire goal, because if you're making a financial argument for putting BricsCAD into your organization, you want it to be as easy as possible. You want it to be easy to install, you want it to be easy to train, you want it to be easy to customize. Why? Because the easier it is, the less it costs. So that is always a good idea, to make things simpler and easier. If I do this, and I explore it up front, and I really take my time to understand what I'm doing, I'm going to make fewer mistakes. And a false start in an implementation tends to be pretty expensive. I'm going to figure out probably some of the best ways to perform the workflow of my installation. So what I would say to anybody who's looking at installing BricsCAD, get a plan, right? You need a strategy, a smart strategy for how to approach this. The types of components and things that you're going to have to do, like I would argue, how are you going to set it up? How are you going to migrate customization? How are you going to test? How are you going to deploy? How are you going to train? I need a game plan for this. If you simply install software and let it rip, you're going to have problems. So what we're doing is we're trying to give you a set of best practices for this. Now, the first thing that I would talk about to anybody who's considering BricsCAD, first of all, is cost and licensing metrics. As we all know, most of the software that's out there these days is on a forced subscription or rental mode of operation. And this means that your licensing is going to be costly, and it's going to be costly every year. Now, the way that we look at it at BricsCAD is that really should be your choice. We will give you the ability to do perpetual licensing so that you purchase the software in year one and then pay maintenance on it year over year to keep it current. Now, you don't have to do maintenance if you don't want to, but we think you will want to because there's so much cool new stuff coming out. Why would you not want the latest version? We will allow you to do a mixture of perpetual licenses and subscription licenses if that makes the most sense for you. So if you have a base level of users who are on CAD all day, every day, buy them perpetuals. If you have a transitory workforce or a project-based workforce that needs subscription, fine, do that. We'll put them all on the same license manager, by the way, and we will allow them to float. So they are concurrent use. You do not have to manage BricsCAD on a per user basis. You are not tied to one machine. Everybody doesn't have to have a BricsCAD account to do this. So we're very simple and intuitive to manage. It works everywhere. So if you want to download a different language version, feel free. Your license works there. Want to go to a different geographical area? Feel free. It works there. So the buzz phrase we like is one license for planet Earth. No upcharges at any point. The first thing that I tell anybody who's looking at an implementation of BricsCAD is clean house. Clean up all the junk and all the old files and all the old folders and all the old blocks and palettes and backups. I go into these network directories and I see blocks, copy of blocks 2, copy of blocks just in case, right? I see all this replicated data. Let's clean that up. And let's use BricsCAD as our impetus for a clean, fresh, quick start to get things running straight away. What I suggest always is to do a parallel mode of implementation. That is, get BricsCAD installed, tweak it, test it, and have it run in parallel with your existing CAD system. This is going to allow you to transition in a more orderly and gradual fashion. And if you saw our CAD managers on the comfy couch, we're talking to Don Broussard, that's the approach that they took, and they found it much less disruptive to their company. I agree with that philosophy. So if you have some time overlap, do that. Have the ability for users to transition out into BricsCAD. I personally like the philosophy of bringing along my power users first so that they can help me test and debug and develop, and then I will bring more and more users over as time goes by. My strategy is I want to take the customization in my existing CAD system and I want to migrate it over to BricsCAD. And there's some tips and tricks I'll give you for doing that. I want to make sure that it's network aware so that everybody runs the same way all over the enterprise. Okay, a couple of points. So when you get into BricsCAD, if you've not used it before, you will see that we have a unified settings command. And this is analogous to options that you might find in other CAD systems. You can actually type in options at the command line and it will take you into settings. But this is a little bit different. So this is the command where you actually find all of the variables and environment variables and registry variables that you will need to manipulate. You can go in there and you can type in support. Let's see if I can actually use this without, yeah, surprise. So you can type in support in the search bar until you get down to the general support folder. Very easy to find. You could change that value to a network repository, or you could change it to multiple network folders. It's really up to you. So do what makes sense to control your files, and then you simply go over to the support folder in your other application, grab all that stuff, copy and paste it over into the support folders that you've established in BricsCAD. Now that all that stuff is there, you've essentially established a parallel support environment so that your original system keeps running correctly while I can do testing and implementation on the new support structure. Pretty straightforward to do that. Peripheral management. If your other CAD system uses things like PC3 files, PMP files, system folder, or default system printer, these would be PDF generators, they tend to be configured and wrapped in what's called a PC3 file. You can copy these directly over into BricsCAD and they work. They really do. They just work just like that. So all you have to do is go to your network folder or wherever you keep your plotting configurations, go grab all those files, go into BricsCAD, key in Plotter Manager, and that will bring you into the plot configuration window. You copy your stuff in there, bang. The next time BricsCAD starts, all of your printers are properly configured. That's really all there is to it. Now, of course, that should probably be network aware, right? so that all of your users are pointing to the same network folder and repository. That would be good workflow. Another thing is a lot of people bring over Lisp customization. And what I will do is I will point you to a resource that I have. If you go onto the Bricsys.com site and just search under my name, you'll find that there's a variety of blog posts up there that are available for you, and Lisp migration is one of them. So I've got several articles there that you can look at for controlling the startup experience, using our Blade Lisp editing tool. So I can't go through a whole class on that here, but I will point you there to that resource, and I think you'll find a lot of answers there. So please feel free to go look at that. I've got a bunch of stuff up there, as does Heidi, as does pretty much all of our content experts at Bricsys. So you can go up there and learn a little more about Lisp migration. I think you will find that your experience is pretty much, it works. Load it in and it runs. Got a little bonus to announce. We didn't talk about it in any of our V20 sessions, but here it is. We are implementing a secure loading data scheme in V20 that will allow you to actually, at a registry level, restrict what can be loaded and where it can be loaded from. This will not be exposed to general users. It's a CAD management feature. More documentation on that will be upcoming, but we have heard from feedback and listening to customers on our tours that that was one area that CAD managers wanted to have additional control over. So it will be there for you. So it's the one cool announcement I get to make. Concepts for learning, and I'm moving towards trying to wrap up here. Here's what I've found that works pretty well. I don't treat BricsCAD as a different program. I treat it as a familiar program. So I put people in front of it and I say, please don't freak out. This is really very similar to what you're already used to. Give it a chance, please. That's kind of the tone that I use. And get people calmed down and get them to actually start using the software and understanding how to get at the software without freaking out. Here's some other tips. If you're going to train somebody how to use BricsCAD, please have them work in the files they already work in. This is a general training tip, but I find it very apropos here. If you're going into a firm full of civil engineers that are used to looking at civil drawings of subdivisions, please use those drawings to train them. Don't use a generic training document. Don't use something they're not familiar with. In fact, what you should do in your training prep is you should ask people, can you please provide me with a representative sampling of your files so that when I show your people how to use this tool, they'll see things they're familiar with. And psychologically, the trick there is that you're teaching people only the software. They don't have to expend any mental effort on understanding the drawing because they understand that. Have them work in actual project contexts. Have them save in actual project folders. Have them use actual project blocks. Have them replicate the workflows that they would normally use. Twofold here. Number one, the company wants you to get BricsCAD productive as soon as possible. So by training people in their actual working environment, of course, you will achieve that objective. Second thing is, if people work in something that they already know, they're going to walk out of the BricsCAD training session saying, wow, that worked. Yeah, it was exactly what I would expect. It's not foreign, it's not alien. It was very natural for me to go in there and work on that application. Use actual standards. Use actual workflows. Put people in the scenario where they're doing actual work. I usually do this over a lunch and learn time frame. So I give myself 1 hour. The first 5 minutes is, oh, it's different. The next 15 minutes is, well, it's not so different. The next 15 minutes is, yeah, this is actually pretty much what I'm already used to. And the last 10 minutes is, this is cool. So, you know, how can we go start using this? So I really have found if you do this right, you know, if you approach it with a good game plan, you really can get people into BricsCAD in an hour. Now, CAD managers, yes, you do have to have some prep work, right? You do have to copy over the plotter configurations. You do have to copy over the Lisp and customization. but I think you'll find that fairly straightforward. I don't know if any of you saw the CAD managers on the comfy couch earlier, but these are both CAD managers that I've worked with, and they both found it a very straightforward process as well. I would refer you to this blog post that I did as well, which is called Preparing for Implementation. This is essentially a 3-part series that is the long-winded version of what I've just been talking to you about. So if you'd like to read through it in a little bit more detail with some checklists and some additional resources, this would be a good place for you to go. Okay. Let me move to wrap up here since I am restricted on time. I'd love to hear from you personally, because it's my job to make sure you're successful. So I don't know a better way to do that than to talk to people who are trying to use the product. The other thing is we do have some resources internally at Bricsys that we can use to help you with getting a head start on your implementation. And I'm the right person to talk to you about that. So if you want to pull me aside and talk to me here at the conference or tonight at the party, or you want to email me, or I'm happy to hear from you. Let me know how we can help you be successful with the software. And there's my email, robert.green@bricsys.com. We've got another presentation coming up, so I'm going to get out of the way and I'm going to get Matthias, and you're going to come up here and talk more about 24/7. I hope this quick glimpse was a good thing for you, and I hope you'll feel free to call on me to assist you with any of your needs in migrating over to BricsCAD. All right, thanks very much.